Shri Gurubhyo Paramagurubhyo Srimadananda Tirtha Bhagavad Padacharyaobhyo Namo Namaha Narayana Paripurna Gunarnavaya Visvodaya Stititolaya Niyati Prataya Yana Prataya Vibuddha Sura Saukya Dukkha Satkaranaya Vidadaya Namo Namaste Yo Vipralimba Viparita Madiprabodhan Vadan Nirasya Kritavan Bhuvitattvavadam Sarvesvaro Haririti Pratipatakam Tam Anandatirtha Munivam Namami Pujyaya Raghavendraya Satyadharmarataya Cha Pajatam Kalpavrikshaya Namatam Kamadenive Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadidamastu ma Vishvidavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Yes, friends, I think we are into the penultimate two mantras, which are to be covered in the second Valli. So far, what we have seen, because is the how we have to get across, to our own discipline, Finally, when we say God realization, it is called the self-realization. Once you have the self-realization only, you will be able to have the God realization. In the sense, first you should have a faith in yourself. So, law of the Lord is love, and the language of the Lord is silence. That is the ultimate, everyone says. But before having love as a component in us, we should know how to love ourselves. In the sense, we should be lovable to ourselves. We should be having the qualities by which, we should be able to respect and love ourselves. This is what exactly, in a way, it is being brought about. It is not simply the gospel and the advice the Upanishad gives. When it gives a change, it brings in a change. It wants to bring in a change in such a way that you are able to realize the best qualities that is ingrained in you. Because you become much more a better human than what we are. Because whenever we say human, normative human, because there is a Western philosophy they call the normative human. Normative human in the sense, a human being supposed to have all the best qualities is normative human. Whether we are normative human or not, that is, because the constantly evolving depending upon our own, because the way of life, our own, the moral code of conduct, which we have prescribed ourselves. It is not someone has given to us and all. This is in this context only we saw last week the mantra Nayamatma Pravachanena Labhyaha, because even by discourses, you will not be able to get it, nor even Medaya. Even if you are a great Pandit, you would not have come to know of, what is the God's quality or God realization, and what is the divinity in you, what is the happiness quotient in you, divine quotient in you, and how best a being you are. Basically, when you are trying to know the God or trying to realize yourself is to trying to find your best potential ingrained in you. This is what Upanishad says, because it's all just in our it's all in our internal kernel, because we have to bring forth. Whether we are able to bring forth that, because that is where the entire Upanishad is trying to make an attempt, and in that context only they have said Nayamatma Labhyaha na Medaya, because it's not possible na Pravachane na Labhyaha. In the sense, finally you are able to get by virtue of your own effort. Effort is very much needed. Effort is very much needed in the sense, more you try to see, more you try to excel in everything what you are doing. Excel in everything what you are doing is you become a mindful. You try to increase your skill. In that context, you are forgetting about all other things. All other things, you are not looking for a trophy for whatever you are trying to do. See, suppose what we do, if I have taken effort, I have taken so much of effort. What is that I have got? That is what a human tendency is. After all, I have worked for so many years. What I have got in return? Kya koya, kya paya, because this is what, we always try to find. What is that I have got having put in all the effort and energy and all? Putting all the effort and energy, you are not going to get anything. You are going to leave so many things. The effort what we are putting is just to leave all the sort of the luggages which is just clouding us from finding out our own best in us, that you are slowly removing, you are declogging, you are taking the veil out of that. That is avidya, what they call is the veil. Maya, what they call is a veil. Once you slowly removing the veil, once you come to find, how great a being you are, because in the sense it's not that, even then you will get to the sort of a vanity, that I am, I am so good and all. It's not that. Finally, so when you become so simpler, in the sense you do not have anything to be long for, anything to even a sort of a praise, you don't require for any praise, you don't require for any, you don't look for any respect and all. You just look for your being happy, happiness personified. Your happiness quotient will be so high, you will always be blissful. In the sense that is what we are trying to attempt at. Rest of the things, whatever you do, you get some praise here or some reward here, or you are being taken as someone, who could be followed. There is a lot of people, who are, you are having a following, like, Facebook and all. What are you looking for? So many likes. And what is that you are looking for in social media? So many likes, so many comments, that makes you happy and all. But once you come to this stage, you will all leave all those things, because finally, you are unto yourself. This is where, the Upanishad is trying to tell us, as you slowly go through, why, this is happening. It's because, having given that, is it that, you have to live always without any reward? See, in this world, when you have worked on this, you should get something in return and all. Something in return is the self-satisfaction, what you are getting. That is the most difficult thing to be obtained. Even the billionaires don't have the satisfaction themselves. They don't have a full good night's sleep. This is exactly what it faces, when you are able to get that Shushupta Sthana, when you are able to get, when you are in the nescience, when you are in the lap of, the ultimate power, where you get, the bliss totally personified, that is where, you get that. What it does, you have a full faith in whatever you are doing, whether you get the reward or not. Because reward or not, what you are getting is by having the metrics of the world, what others are getting, whether are you able to get something. That is how, your rewards are. The metrics of the world, determine the reward. That need not necessarily be. The ultimate metrics is, you are always able to be in the pivot of happiness. You are always in the circle of happiness. The arc of happiness is always around you. 360 degrees happiness is there. That is 24/7 happiness, in the sense you will not be yielding easily to anyone. That's not the case. But at the same time, whatever you are doing, you will not be regretting whether you have done something, or you will not be overly happy about something you have done about it. You don't have to do anything. You have done. That is the best you have done that. You are happy about it. That's all. Next moment, you forget about it. You are not going to be holding on to that. Once you are able to get that, that is what the happiness personified. In this context only, we said one of the sort of a metaphor given in this, for this particular mantra, I think a lot of people have taken this as sort of how Sita, in this, when she was confined by Ravana, she was not, she just kept her hope alive, as well as, she didn't think about anything. She just had a full-fledged faith in herself and full-fledged faith in Rama. She doesn't know whether he will be able to get enough resources to come there and rescue her. And all. We know the Ramayana story, no, it has happened. But you just imagine, in her position, when you don't know, when you are totally lost, when you don't know what is likely to happen, everything looks dark. At that point of time, what happens? It happens, in everyone's life. At some point of time, it comes. At that point of time, you try to do, because when you lose faith in yourself, you will try to follow what others are telling. Why don't you do that? And he did that. Why don't you go to this person? He will do it. Why don't you ask this astrologer? He will tell you and all. You will be sort of taken away from various ways. Whereas, you yourself could have done that. Yes, yes, madam. I think you raised your hand.
Oh,
Hello.
that.
Yeah,
Okay.
you raised your hand, madam.
Give me. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I'm able to.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Very much.
Acha. There's something wrong. So don't bother about the hand. I don't even know how to raise it. Okay. Has
Okay.
it gone down now?
Yeah, no, it is okay. It doesn't matter. It is there. No
Okay.
problem. We will go with that. No problem.
Okay. Sorry.
Not at all.
Oh yeah, found lower
So
hand.
see, God, see what happens is, in everything, what happens when you once you, how you are able to have faith in yourself, when you are lost in your own self, when you are lost in whatever you are doing, when you fully enjoy whatever you are doing, when you are lost into yourself, then the faith begins, because you don't bother, no, don't bother about what others are talking about. You don't find, whether you are getting any trophy for what you have got, whether you have got any reward for what you have done. You don't bother about it at all. So when you get that particular feeling, when you are able to proceed with that, then you have full faith in yourself. Once you have a full faith in yourself, naturally the faith in the primordial power is already there, because you are not frittering away, you are not looking for anything. Whatever you have to get, you will get. That is already you surrendered. You are not bothered. That indirectly happens by developing the faith in yourself. You can't be having a faith in God without having a faith in yourself. That is a point, that's me. How you will be able to have faith in yourself, because you are doing everything, whatever is possible within your command. You are not trying to, because outdo yourself. Whatever is capable of, whatever is within your capacity, whatever is in your capability, you are doing that. And after doing that, yes, I have done that. This is what I could do. And as far as you ensure that there is, you are not doing anything at the cost of someone else. You are doing everything, within your power, resources, and command, whatever within you. That's all. You be that, and don't try to, because for sometimes, some other things, you are being distracted. So you are someone who is capable, why don't you try to participate in that, and don't get into that and all, because wherever is there, even you have given a responsibility, when you have taken a responsibility with a full-fledged acceptance, you execute that responsibility, whatever is there, whether in the family or in the outside some organization or at the outside some initiative. You do that whatever is within your command and capacity. That's all. Don't bother about it. I could have done that. Don't bother about it, what is happening and all. You leave it at that. Because one of the things what happens is, we are all being given a sort of, the sort of understanding that you can change the things and all. You cannot change the world. You cannot change the persons. Every person is whatever he is. Every person will change only when he realizes that is a possibility for him to change and find out the best in him. And for that, he has to have faith in himself. To have faith in himself, because by seeing so many people, who have selflessly worked and had the faith in themselves, even, when the vicissitudes have taken over them, when the misfortune has come, misfortune, when it comes, it doesn't come singly. It comes in so many ways. Despite that, person has kept himself and just going about whatever is being, that is the highest possible sort of a bliss a person can get. He has got the highest strength. He has got the strength by virtue of the faith in himself. He has accepted whatever has happened to him, and he has done whatever is possible by him. That is, both are there. You are not sitting idle. Just because something has happened, you take the help of some astrologer, take the help of you. You are not kept quiet, but you are doing whatever you can do. You are not expecting anything out of miracle, out of anything like that. Once you have a faith, automatically it will come to you. Once it comes, once the faith in, because that is how, you will be able to realize the God. This mantra said, particularly, this is of, you will be able to rather, get into the mode of God realization or self realization. And for that, the previous mantra said, God's grace is essential. So God's grace is essential in the sense, God's grace comes only when you are fit enough, once you are having a faith and doing everything as a longing for getting the best in you. Getting the best in you is nothing but getting the best out of the primordial power, getting the final realization of the God. So that is what it happens. I would say only when you have a faith and start doing it. Without having a faith, I'll just keep quiet. The God's grace will come whenever it is required. It is not in my hands. We can just open up. Like as I was telling, the proverb in Hindi is खुदा मेहरबान तो गदा पहलवान. Because when खुदा जब मेहरबान होंगे तब पहलवान होंगे. It's not like that. You will have to keep on effort. God's grace comes only those who are. Is it that if God's grace is enough, then you don't have to do any effort at all? The effort that means is in the human beings, the effort, entire effort, as well as the whatever the moral code of conduct, is being defined by two words called Shama and Dhamma. Shama in the tranquility of the mind, unagitated mind, calmness of the mind. Dhamma is by virtue of the calmness of the mind, you are able to realize clarity of thought and you are able to do everything to the utmost benefit and you are able to follow the code of conduct in which you will be able to do everything. And because everyone has to do whatever they are assigned to. There is a verse in Gita in the 18th chapter. We will talk about that particular Gita mantra also. Therefore, it is not the God's grace alone is not. God's grace will come only when you are fit enough to get that God's grace. So to be fit enough, to be capable enough, to be eligible enough to get the God's grace is to develop the faith in yourself lovingly. And then, because don't find any fault within you, because the self-persecution takes place in very often. So I have always been like that. Whatever I did, I couldn't do, I couldn't excel. Don't do anything. You have done everything, whatever is best in you. Otherwise, you will not be in a position where you are there now. And you have a love of yourself. Self-love is important in the sense it is not a vanity. You just don't sort of self-persecute. You have done everything within your capacity. Don't think about, I could have done that. No words at all. You have done everything best. Whatever has come to you, that is how, the God has brought you to this level. So once you have that, that is the self-love. From the love, the faith comes. When the faith comes, you do whatever is coming. But yes, this is not possible. Don't try to overdo, because if I had all these things I could have done, don't go further. Whatever you are having, within your capacity, within your resources, whatever you can do, you do it. That is how, because 2 weeks before, when we thought, because that we had one meditation on some Manasa Suktam where, the sort of, the harmony between the brother and sister, harmony between the husband and wife, harmony between the parents and children. All these things happen when you do everything, within your capacity without bothering about what they think about. See, complaint, how it comes, people will be complaining not because of what you have done or what you have not done. It is because of their own perception of what should have been done and all. If that is the case, they themselves could not have done. Whenever some person is having a complaint, it is about themselves. It's not about you. That is so once you do everything, leave it at that. Don't bother about it. Because once, why, the disharmony takes place in the family and all, you go on discussing a small instance, he should have done that, he could have come, he could have called me, I could have invited, I should have gone, and all those things, nonsense, because this is you have done at that point of time. You had a constraint, within the constraint you work to your best, that's all. Leave it at that. Even because this can happen between the parents and children. Parents may not be all that happy. Look, these children, what they are useless fellows, they have not done anything and all. Your wife will be thinking worthless husband. The children will be telling, he is of the useless father, and the parents will be telling the hopeless son. This may take place, irrespective of the fact what you have done to your conscience within your capacity and resources. You have done at that. That's what it says. Most of the things happens is you are expecting a trophy, because you want someone to praise you. Look, you have done that. That's how, they want to praise you. I have done so much, he has not given even a word. Why should he? Don't bother about it. The final word will be given by someone. So your final word will be given by the person who has given you the faith, who has given you the capability, who has given you the resources. He will give it to you. You don't bother about it. Because very often these things take away, from your moorings. You are not able to do, because be it, the daughter and the mother, or son and the father, husband and wife, parents and the children, mother and the son and father and the daughter, whatever it may be. You do it and leave it at that and continue to do that irrespective of the fact. Whatever is possible within, you continue to do that and leave it at that. This is what exactly it says. This is in the present circumstances is more applicable. Because of this only, very often I have done so much, what I have got, this type of thing, you will not get anything. But you will be leaving your worries, and you are living, your like and dislike takes place, because she told me like that, I told him like that. What is that? Let them say whatever is been, I don't have any bother. Whatever I have to do, I have been doing it. Go about it. That's all. This is exactly, what all the philosophy says. The Western philosophy also says like that. It is like a normative human being. It's a normative relationship. What is possible within the normative relationship, you do it. Whatever happens, in the actual relationship, because the normative, when we talk about, actual is different from normative. The normative, this is what it should happen like this in normal circumstances, given all the conditions are equal. But the conditions are not always equal, and the mindset is not always equal. Everyone is in a different stage of evolution. You may be highly evolved because your children or your brothers, they may not be evolved. They will then be having a thinking. So you don't bother about it. Even otherwise, because the outside the family also, if you have any problem, don't leave it that. Even professional circuit also, even you are working in an organization, you might have done, you might have contributed, you thought others would have also said like that, but you would not have expected, you would not have got what you expected and all. Then don't expect, look, I would have done in this organization, I have come, I am to do, I have done that. If it comes, you don't bother about it, you go about doing it, but it will definitely come. There is no occasion if anyone with this faith in himself and faith in the ultimately what he is doing has ever failed. There has been no instance what has happened at all. The God's grace happens. So because even the greatest, the people, whoever, even Einstein had a personal problem in his life. How many of us know, because first marriage failed and he had so many other problems and all. Despite that, he only focused on what he is capable of. He simply went about doing it and all. But because all the vicissitudes that were there, if he is bothered about, he could not have done that. I will also share a story, because during the course of this session, how the people who are thinking, who are capable of achieving so many things, finally, what has happened to them, we'll see that. That also we'll see. With that, because now the point is, you should have a faith in yourself, so that you will be able to develop the faith in the ultimate power, and you will be able to use your resources, everything, to your utmost, the elevation of yourself, not to your advantage. Advantage, even thinking of getting some praise, trophy, everything is sort of a desire. We will not have that, but we will just go about doing that. But finally, God's grace is essential. In the sense, when it happens, you don't know how it happens. You will be subsumed into the whole process. You will be sublimated into the whole process. And in fact, Shankaracharya in his Bhashya says, because how you get the God realization, in the sense, when God realization takes place, we are existing at the moment. So we are talking, we are discussing and all. When God realization take, you don't exist. You get sublimated. You become part of it. When you don't exist, what is there to be experienced? That is the ultimate Advaita. But whatever others say, because the Tattvavada or Visishtadvaita, what they say is, when you are surrendering it to the God and you are leaving it everything to Him, when you are doing whatever you can do, because Dasanudasa, whatever you can do, everything and all, that is all, because that you go about doing it. Your job is to be a Dasa in this world, to the God as well as, to whatever duty that has been assigned to it. That's all you go about it. You don't bother about it. And God's grace, because it will come automatically, provided you are able to develop the faith in it. And it's also this Upanishad also answers, when you say God's grace is essential, in the sense people only will be thinking of, when the time comes it will happen, because that is the normally we say. It will not happen because there is, I used to remember a very beautiful, the behind the lorries or the trucks in the northern, especially, in Rajasthan, UP and all, you will find a lot of inscriptions on it. समय से पहले भाग्य से ज्यादा कभी नहीं मिलता है. This is a truth only. समय से पहले भाग्य से ज्यादा कभी नहीं मिलता है. Before the time and beyond what you deserve, you never get it. It is no one has to say, we know, we have realized and all. This is exactly, because what is it? Therefore, you go about doing it. Whatever has to come will come. The samay comes, it automatically come. When your bhagya is, your bhagya has destined for, you are destined for something, you will get it. You do it, but as far as you are concerned, you go about it so that you are not clogged with all those things that dissipate your energy into doing all other unwanted, nonsensical things. This is what the next mantra says, because it's not only God's grace, having faith in yourself, everything, because those things are essential. Finally, you will be able to get. And when you are able to get the realization, it's like a sadma, it is like a sudden realization. As Ramana Maharishi, it happened at the age of 16. He was sleeping in his uncle's house in Madurai. Suddenly, he got sort of a hallucination or a vision. He thought, he will have to go somewhere and all. He went to Thiruvannamalai, and where he had because almost he experienced death even before he got the realization and all. And he said he is nobody, the body is nothing. He could get to that stage. Then he got that and all. It happens. It is like a sudden. It's like a flash. It's like a lightning. That in Kathopanishad we have said like a lightning it happens. Whenever you are able to get, finally, the one person will be ordinary person, suddenly you will find him, you just like that, he becomes someone, very highly evolved, and people talk about him and all. I will also share, one particular instance, how, it has happened somewhere in down south also. So the next mantra, what we are talking about, is that you have all those things, even that is all okay. Despite that, you should not forget the most important thing. That's what the Upanishad says. That is the penultimate mantra of the second Valli, 1.2.24. It is in your page 62. It says, Na avirataha dushcharitat. Na avirataha dushcharitat, who has not desisted from a bad conduct. So, na avirataha dushcharita. Dushcharitat in the sense a good conduct. See, good Charitat in this Rama is being described. He is getting the highest conduct in this entire, the scriptural level. If human being highest conduct is only Rama. In the third mantra of the Valmiki Ramayana beginning, the third or fourth mantra says how great a quality he is. Konasvin Sampradam Loke Gunavan Satya Viryavan Dharmagyasya Kritagyasya Satyavakyo Dridavratah. Because he says, he is having that quality. He is the van. He's a valiant, no one can beat him. As well as, he is also stubborn, steadfast in following, whatever is there. And he is also, he will not forget, because the gratitude is so level, so high. Even a person has done, suppose if someone has helped you to ticket in the train, before it started, you were in Tatkal and all. It might have happened 10 years before. But you will not forget that. If you happen to meet him and you will have it in the mind, look, someone helped me and all. How many of us are able to remember all these things? Are yaar hota hai, sabko hota hai and all. Someone must have helped you, because you were able to, because your luggage might have been dropped and someone must have picked up, because he could be a reporter only. So likewise, the life, if we have to be gratitude, the list is endless. Some are in our memory, some are in our memory. But Rama had even the smallest thing done, he was just keeping it in his mind, and he always tried to return, whatever is possible, wherever it is possible, the best way it is possible. He is having that. That is called charitat. That guna. Na avirato dushcharitat. Dushcharita is bad conduct. Bad conduct in the sense, you may be a great, Pandita. The previous one said, you might have known Vedas, Upanishad and all. But whatever you are doing is just, because it's not good for other people. You are not able to think of anything good to others. Dushcharita. That's what. Now, Avirata, one who has not desisted from doing the bad conduct. See the bad, why they are telling, because how it has been used in a negative connotation, because I think, I will have to explain a thing. We have got something called a negative covenant in all the agreements. What you can't do, non-compete agreement. Supposing, if a person is giving a license to you for a particular region to manufacture something, the original, the person who is giving you the technology, he says, in this area you should not compete. Non-compete agreement, he says. He tells you, we should not do that. These are all negative covenants. But there is a sort of, the omnibus negative covenants are also there. See, when we were all in the public sector, the government will not give all the powers, because they are the shareholders. They will give, the directors or MD can do only this much, they will not say like that. What are all the things they can't do? Following things can't be done by any of the board members. That's all. That is a negative comment. Other than that, you can do. But that is a long list. To find out what you can do is a sort of, again, you will have to do research and research analysis only you will have to do. It is like that, likewise negative covenants are always there. This mantra is telling you it a negative way, negative component, desisting from having a bad conduct. In the sense, bad conduct is natural for human being. Bad thought is natural for human being. See, a teenager can getting wayward is very easy. Because nowadays, with the all the internet and all have come, because how beautifully, these rishis, and they have used, the words in that. They have used, desisting from the bad conduct, because it comes naturally. To be in the bad conduct, to do the bad conduct is a normal tendency for any human being at that point of time in whatever circumstances they are in. So that means you have to come out yourself. You need special efforts to come out of that. See, that's it. They say like that. It's not that you should not do bad conduct, and it's not a gospel. Because bad conduct will come, because you are being surrounded by so many things. Naturally, a person, who is susceptible, vulnerable, he will indulge into bad conduct. So to desist from doing a bad conduct, that's a beautifully, this is the greatness of Upanishad. They know human tendency. They have analysis, they have done the SWOT analysis of every being, what they are capable of, what is not possible, what is possible for them. That is how they are giving you the right advice. Na avirato duscharita na na ashantaha na asamitaha. Na ashantaha. They know ashantaha in the sense, shanta is peaceful. Shanta is just pristine, pure peace in the mind. You are not agitated at any point of time. Na ashanta. In the human life, when you are dealing with the senses, all the five, the kind of karmendriyas, jnanendriyas, you will always be agitated. You have to deal with the things. Your senses bring in so much input into you. You will have to react. And you should, the ability to lessen the reaction and more proact is the one which the Upanishad is attempting to help you. So when we see Ashanta, because Ashanta is a common, a human being will be always agitated. He is in the samsara, even if he is not a married, he will have hundreds of problems. He is married means he will also have the problems. Even otherwise, in whatever politics also, he will have a problem. Even otherwise, he is in some other, the vocation also, he will have a problem. Even if he is the poorest of the poor, he will have a problem. The next time meal is a problem. Forget about anything else. He has got everything and all. Ashanta, you will always be thinking about something, this is to be done, that is to be done. Today morning, because today also, I know, how many things I am yet to do. If I make a list, I will not be able to sit here and do, because I know so many things are to be done. But despite that, because, I should have to work a way out, how to do that. That clarity comes, we're slowly working on that. You will not be able to do everything in one go, but you will have to do that. Na shantaha, na asamitaha. Na asamitaha. Asamitaha in the sense, samahitaha is balanced, fine balance on all your thing, what you are doing, your family life, your professional life, and your obligation to others, as well as whatever that is samahita. Samahita is you are having different. Asamitaha in the sense you are not able to, you are imbalanced always. And who is not imbalanced? That's what it says. So because getting into a bad contact and getting, because totally agitated and getting into some sort of the imbalance is the order of the day. He knows these are all the human beings sort of present condition. The Upanishad wants you to take. That is how it says all the negative connotation. Na avirato dushkaritan, na ashanto, na asamitaha. Sasamihitaha in the sense, you not have a fine balance, you please try to have it. But what it says, na ashanta manaso. Ashanta manaso in the sense, all these things finally what it happens, your mind is not peaceful, it is agitated. When you are having ashanta manaso, vapi, because when you are having a anxiety as well as the something to be done and always working upon which is not accomplished, as per your own goal and all, then he says, prajnananem apniyat, cannot attain the prajnanena na apniyat. In the sense, you will not be able to get to the final realization, it says. It said God's grace first. God's grace is essential. So then finally it said, na pravachanena labhyaha, by listening to that, by discussing that, na panditaha, na medaya, you will not be able to get all those things. Despite that, because finally, even then, even after doing all these things, you should not have these qualities, it says. You should not get into any bad conduct just because you are really well versed in all the scriptures, all the four Vedas and all. Not that you can indulge in all sort of the conduct. Even a person who doesn't know the knowledge will indulge in. But a person who doesn't have a knowledge and who is having a sort of a moral code of conduct is far superior than the person who is highly qualified and doing all sorts of things. It wants, don't go by only people what they talk and what they do and all. You go by your own, because intuition, what it tells about the person and your own faith in you. If you have faith in you, you will be able to determine who is good, who is not so good. Now, avirato duscharitan ashanto na asamitaha na shanta manaso vapi pragyanenam apniyat. Because this is what exactly it brought about. So when it has brought about, because this can happen every time. I am just telling a small story. There was one person who is considered to be so far in this universe supposed to have had the highest IQ in the world. One William Sidney. He is, I think, he was born in the late 18th century, and he was in the 20th century also. He was there from 19th century. He came to 20th century. He is the son of an immigrants from pre-revolutionary Russia. Before the October Revolution, they all have come to US, because they have to migrate, because they were all, the Tsar was, the thrown out, and we know the history and all. They have to migrate. They have to come. One Boris and Sarah, the couple they came, but they are a very, very highly accomplished couple. One, the father was a psychologist, and mother was also, in academic, they were there, they wanted to bring their son. They don't want to have the same life, as they had. They wanted to have their son should have. They've come to America now. They've got the freedom. Their son should be able to get the best out of that. They wanted to bring, because since he's a psychologist, he knows child psychology, how child can sort of absorb the knowledge and how to make him sort of wonderful, the child, with a genius. He wanted to make him into a genius, adopting all the technologies available, and he's also very accomplished psychologist. So then once the child was born, because this William, when he was born, they try to give him all ambience. They make him hear, all sorts of the talks, this and that and all. Before he was 3, he was able to have the vocabulary of English much more than any other child in US could have had. He is a born Russian. From Russia he has come, he was able to have. And by the time of 5 and 6, because he could do a small mathematical problem he could solve. The parents were naturally happy, because both of them wanted a child to be like that only. So finally, when they tried to measure, he knows, being a psychologist, he knows how to measure the IQ and all that. He didn't do it, he got an agency, who are doing it, finally got it. He got an IQ of 300, supposed to be twice that of Einstein at that point of time, it seems. They got, because if that is the case, this fellow should go places. So finally, when he was 7 years, they thought, any person in US, the ultimate aim is to get admission in Harvard. To get admission in Harvard is the best thing, that could happen to any precocious and, the sort of an intelligent genius, that can happen in US. They tried for that. At 7 years, they said, the child is not matured, we will not be able to take, all these type of chances, and you are a little over ambitious, the university rejected as it is. Because at that point of time, to get admission into Harvard was becoming so famous. One person, he sort of bequeathed the entire his wealth to Harvard, telling that finally in his dead body should be taken into Harvard Medical School for their cadaver, the research and analysis. He said, because this is the only way I can get into Harvard. This is what he wrote. It was so much of a thing there and all. So it didn't happen. Afterwards, eventually he got admission when he was 10 years old. Because they also found, his IQ is so good, his ability to absorb is so good, and he was taken into the mathematics department of Harvard. It is a recorded story. There is a biography of this person also. When he got into Harvard, and at the age of 11, he gave a sort of a lecture on the mathematical analysis. In the audience, even one of the very renowned MIT professor from MIT was also there. Hearing his lecture for more than 2 hours, he said he is the astronomically intelligent person. He will go places, and perhaps he is going to be the best brain in this world in years to come. That's what they predicted. At that time, Einstein has not got his Nobel Prize. He has not become so popular, and all. This all happened during this time. It happened, it got through and all, but certainly, he had his one greatest problem was he was not sociable. He was not dealing with the other co-students. He was only talking about the subject only to the professor who he thought, are capable of understanding, his IQ and all. He was not talking to others. He was little secluded from all those things. He was not having a normal, child who should have that habits and all. Nothing was there. He was not going out, taking and all. Finally, he became some sort of a aversion was there, with all other students to this particular child. Even though he was so brilliant, he was rather enlisted into a doctorate program, in Harvard, and he was doing halfway through. He sort of left it and went to a university called Rice University. It is there. He was teaching trigonometry and geometry, to the students, of graduation and post graduation and all. He was 12 years, 12 and a half, 13 years old. But he had to teach the students, who were all much older to him. That caused a problem for him. He couldn't be a social animal because basically he was brilliant, but he couldn't be a clubbable personality, with anyone else. Finally, about 10, he gave up that and he again came back to Harvard. Instead of continuing his research in mathematics, he took law. And surprisingly, he excelled in law also. Law also, he was doing so many things because it's capable of analyzing and going about it and all. Finally, it all happened, because he had some sort of a aversion to everything and left, and no one knew where he went and what happened to him and all. Finally, of course, he had a lot of roller coaster ride. He was somewhere, in patent, in sort of a port. He was a clerk somewhere in New York. He was rather, living in anonymity. He didn't want to show everything and all. But whoever had to interact with him, immediately they could grasp his brilliance. He's not an ordinary person at all. So then they went through and all. He became, wherever he go, even though he didn't want to be famous and prominent, he was becoming prominent and famous everywhere and all. Finally, because he gave up everything, his father, psychologist, he started own sanatorium somewhere near Boston. So finally, he took pity on his own son. I think it was called Misfired. Let him take him to my sanatorium. He is a psychologist. He knows how to treat him and all. He took him there. Even he was at that point of time late 20s, nearly 30s. But there also, he didn't do anything. He just ran away from that place. It has become like a prison. I can't stay there, and he doesn't know how to treat people. And that's what he has said. Said finally he went. Finally, his life ended as nobody, in the as would have recognized him and all. Despite the fact he has presented papers, everything and all. What happens is what we think, the metrics of the world, how it happens, how we want the child to grow, and it all doesn't happen. It is all, because why it has happened. Na ashanta manaso. Whatever it may be, you may be a genius, but you should have the shanta manasa. See, you cannot have samahita. You should have a fine balance. See, apart from that, because he also got into drug and all, because duscharita, because that's what we have said. Na avirato duscharita. All these qualities are easily coming, vulnerable. Human beings are vulnerable to that. If you desist from that, finally, if you are all without all these things, with these things, you will not be able to ever get a realization. Only once you give up this, you will be able to get the realization. This is exactly, because that mantra, what it told, it happened to me. So this is the story of a genius. It happened like that. And afterwards, now the biography has come sometime in 2011 or 12. And at that point of time, the Harvard itself has recorded because we never knew, whatever, whether, there was any problem, in our this one and all. It's an individual problem. It happens. That is why, irrespective of the fact, whatever maybe, you may be a genius. Pravachanona labhyaha, whatever that said is, you may be everything and all. But without these qualities, you will not be able to get the realization. This is exactly, what they have finally said. With this, once you have done, it is, human being, why this tendency is there and all. Once we come into the world, we enjoy everything and we indulge in everything, and after that we have to. That's how we learn it and all. When it happens, it is like there is a simile which has been given by Chinmayanandaji. It is like you are a caterpillar on a eucalyptus tree. In a eucalyptus tree, the caterpillar will be able to survive, because you can take the leaves and take it. But the eucalyptus tree, it has got this sting, because it is used for medicinal purposes. You use it for the headache and all. But the caterpillar certainly can't, enjoy, it is basically it has to live in a mulberry to become, like a silkworm or, in butterfly elsewhere and all. But in a eucalyptus tree, it is the world is like a eucalyptus tree. Once you go on getting it, it always take it because by habit you get into that. But if by chance, if you get across a mulberry tree, mulberry leaf, you immediately jump to that because that is the natural diet for you. That is the natural, because the nature of the divine, the soul is you are supposed to have a God realization. You are creation and you got the faith in you. You will have to go there. But you are into this eucalyptus tree, and till then you are not able to get out of that. The moment if you are able to get with these things, a mulberry, the leaf comes or like that, you immediately jump on the opportunity, and then you get across to that. This is exactly because the world is like that. This is the simile given to explain this particular mantra. In short, it says is the human susceptibilities and vulnerabilities continue to be there irrespective of whether you're 6 years old or 80 years old. Whether it's 80 years old or 80 years old, it all continues. You will have to continuously be careful enough not to get into such vulnerabilities. And without that vulnerabilities only, then you do all the Shama Dhamma and then you get the God's grace. The God's grace will not come just like that, sitting quiet and all. You will have to do everything. So in this context only, we will also be, there is a particular mantra in 18.42, because 18 chapter 42 mantra in Bhagavad Gita, it is says Shama is the one which is essential when you are able to have always, the balance of mind, when you are able to the good conduct, as well as, you are able to swadhyaya, swadharma, when he says what you are ordained to do, particular things. Swadharma is whatever has been come to you by virtue of your being in the life in a particular circumstances. It is not that we say, Varnashrama and all, but the Varnashrama was nothing but how you have been, what you are capable of doing it. Even the Purusha Suktam says, there is no Varnashrama. Varna is the color of the soul. What color you acquire by working in this world, that is Varna, not by birth. A Brahmana is not by a birth, as it is a Brahmana, or not by Vaishya is not by birth. If even one who is born in the Brahmin family, if he does business, is a Vaishya only, because he has to have that particular quality to be successful in business. So therefore, it says, irrespective of the value, you will have to have all the vulnerability, because if you are a businessman, you will have a vulnerability of a particular time. And if you are a professional, you have got a vulnerability of a particular thing. And suppose if a person is, the performing arts, he has got vulnerability. You will have to be careful about all those things. It says about all those things. Because one example I will give it to you before closing this. I think there is one particular person, because one would be surprised to know. Recently, he visited Udupi, because he gave a lecture also. There is one, Kesavan must be knowing, one D.A. Joseph Iyengar is there. See, D.A. Joseph, the name is a sort of oxymoron. He is a Christian by birth, D.A. Joseph. And Iyengar is the title, it has been given. Because, he is one, who is well versed in the scriptures. Well versed in the Sri Vaishnava scriptures. I think perhaps I have not heard so simply a person telling all the great concepts. Some of the things, which I could get anywhere, like Periyava Chan Pillai, one great person who has written a lot of things. His things I came to know only from D.A. Joseph, who was only talked about it. This Joseph was a born Christian. He is from my place, Madurai. He was studying in a school called St. Mary's High School. It is a Christian school. There, he was also going to his mass, because in the Sunday masses, he himself has said this, because the person has asked him, how come your name is so peculiar? You are a Joseph, a Christian, but then you are calling yourself Iyengar. What is that? Your name is very different to identify and all. So then he said, this is how it happened. So he was going to Christian masses. Christian masses, they say, only it is all religion says, our God is the God. You will have to follow this path. You should not fritter away into other path. You should not be sort of unduly influenced by others. This is what they say. Don't mingle with others. They're trying to keep the clan as it is. Okay, everywhere it happens. The only thing which doesn't happen is only in our religion. You do whatever you want. You carry on whatever you want. Because finally you will be in your muring. Because you will have to learn by your experience. Without experience, you can't learn. That is why Sanatana Dharma is there. Sanatana Dharma name is come from one great rishi. That also I will share later. So this Joseph, when he was hearing that, he was a very right thinking man. He said, all my friends are so good. My teacher is so good because he has got a teacher called Veera Raghava Iyengar. He seemed to have come in the lineage of Ramanuja himself. His original lineage, but he is not very popular. If you ask any of the Sri Vaishnavites, they don't know this Sri Veera Raghava Iyengar who worked in St. Mary's High School. But this Joseph says he's such a sort of a repository of knowledge. He knows all the philosophy. He knows all the Advaita, and Visishtadvaita, Jainism, Buddhism, all those things he knows. He's the one who finally was a source of knowledge for him. He developed him. In fact, wherever he goes, he propagates the name of Veeraraghava Iyengar and how great he is. He's telling that. So when he was when he got all the knowledge from him, he learned and he was discussing and he has gone into the depth of the entire Sri Vaishnavism. In fact, there was one 5 stavams written by one Kuratalvan. Sri Stavam, Neerabahu Stavam, and 5 stavams are there. All the 5 stavams are written when during his, he was getting away from Srirangam, fearing the wrath of the king there. He was in Alagarkovil for about 7 years. During that period, he has written. For all those stavams, the G.A. Joseph has given a beautiful lecture explaining what is the stavam, what is in Sanskrit as well as the meaning in that. He has done everything and all. So he was to be in Triplicane for, there was a Samprakshana of the temple, because the entire, the entire temple was renovated, renovation of the temple. For that he was also invited. That evening he happened to stay with the Acharya of Sri Perumbudur, that Sri Perumbudur, that Acharya and this D.A. Joseph, they discussed overnight so many things and all. Next morning, when that renovation, the program was there, in the dais, the Sri Perumbudur Acharya said, look, we have got one of the greatest Vaishnavist among us, and we will have to hear him, listen to him, interact with him, and we always should emulate him to be a real Vaishnavist like him. So henceforth we will be calling him as D.A. Joseph Iyengar. He declared in Triplicane during the renovation, Samprakshana. That is how he became Joseph Iyengar. Likewise, it is not the sort of your birth, or something like that matters. How you have developed. You could be, why Bhagavad Gita is applicable to the entire mankind. Whatever nuances of the human life that has been touched upon Bhagavad Gita is true to everyone. It's a person in Finland also, Sweden also, US also, anywhere else also. So the concepts are very, very clear. If you are able to absorb it, it becomes like that. That is why it is not the Varna, is the color of the soul you get it. Joseph, maybe his name, he has got the color of he is like a Brahmana. His knowledge is so high, he is able to talk with such a clarity. That is how, it happens. I brought this extreme example. In the sense, it's a real life example. He is here, still, he is giving his lecture, he is in YouTube, you can see Joseph, D.A. Joseph Iyengar, and if you put it, it will come a lot of lectures on great concepts he is talking about. So likewise, this is what Upanishad says. It's not by, your education, your birth, all those things, the grace of the God and all, but you should not have all these vulnerabilities, susceptibilities, and you should be able to hold on. This is what, is very important. So from this, finally, we have got on the next mantra, last mantra. The last mantra will talk about a very, very funny simile that we will talk about. It is we will lose the sort of the taste of that, the joke that will be playing in the night. It gives, indirectly, see, you just imagine how Upanishad, all those great retreats, they must have thought of the human mind and the human tendency to absorb the knowledge. They could have given. The next mantra will give one more surprise. We will see it in the next version, next session. With this, today I will complete this, and today we will have one sort of a meditation will be there. I will explain the meditation. It is a meditation on a suttam. That suttam is just to keep, because to keep, the ward off, all the illness, all, any paralysis, anything that happens, or anything unwanted that happens, that will all be warded off. And it's a Shanti mantra is there. Because I know that we will go with the Shanti mantra, because Ashanta we have seen how the human mind should not be having a imbalance. How human mind should not be agitated. That's what we have seen. Now the Shanti mantra, the Antariksha Shanti mantra, what is there? We will just listen to that to have a fine balance of our mind, and as well as get the peace of the mind to have a clarity of thought. Sahana vavatu, Sahana punaktu, Sahaviryam karavavahaihi, Tejasvinavadidamastu ma vishvidavahaihi. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We'll just put on the meditation.